وأزواجه أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed that He is to protect beings. And He will deceive them unless they follow the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from the beginning of creation of Adam, alayhi salatu wassalam, that there is only two paths. The path of righteousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the path of shaitan. Whoever follows the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is protected by that promise that he will never be astray. And on the total opposite, shaitan has said, I will deceive anybody who's not following the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you look at what we say 17 times a day, we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And if you see in Surah Al-Fatiha, there's a grammatical style that limits what means na'budu and limits what means nasta'in. Quran can easily say, Oh Allah, we pray to you and we seek your guidance. But that's not what Surah Al-Fatiha says. It limits the guidance and limits the sustenance only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in Arabic you say, نَعْبُدُ إِيَّاكَ وَنَسْتَعِينُ بِكَ. We worship you and we seek guidance from you. But the ayah was not that way. It was put in a way to say, only you we worship. There is a limitation here. Because if we worship you, sure, I'll worship you and somebody else. Still makes sense. But only worships one God and only seek guidance from one God, that limits that there is no other God, no other association, no other being that I follow. And by saying that, you are agreeing that there is no God worthy of worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So right away, after you say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, you right away say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. What does that mean? Sirat means a way. But there's many ways that goes right and left. And you're following as-sirat al-mustaqim. That means it has to be straight. Because you are following the only God. And you're seeking guidance from Him only. And you're not going anywhere else. Because the promise of shaitan that we spoke about, he says, وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. The first thing is that he takes you away from that straight path by getting lost. وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ. I will make them lose the way. So what if I lose the way? This is the first step of falling behind. This is the first step of making sure that you're not following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, we always say, at least 17 times a day, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Show us and guide us to that straight path. Because anything else is straying away. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. We just said, anybody who leaves that path, what happens to them? They get lost. So you're asking to stay on the path, not get lost, and not acquire the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would you acquire the anger of Allah? Because you're leaving the path. When you leave the path, you're not following Allah, you'll follow the shaitan. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will get angry with you. So these two things that we do every day, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We worship you and seek your guidance. That's what keeps us on that path. So how do I know this path? What do I need to stay on that path? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me anything? Yes. He gave us the Quran, He gave us the Sunnah. So how do I measure myself? Do I stay in the masjid alone? Not, on a corner and keep praying? No. If you read Al-Fatiha, you will see that when you are reading it, it's a dua. But that dua, it's not in the singular form. إِيَّاكَ أَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ أَسْتَعِينُ. No. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. We all worship you. We all seek your sustenance. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Guide us. Why are you speaking in plural? Because Islam was not made to be a lonely one-person thing. And as soon as you sit and think for yourself only, there's so much input from your brain that may take you off the path. The first thing shaitan will come to you, look at you. You're praying, everybody's outside having fun in this world. You are the true Muslim. You are the smartest guy. You are, and he gives you that. And then all these thoughts starts, and all these things, all these ideas start to boil in your head. Wow, I'm so good. And then you start making rules. Oh, I am the masjid guy. I am the only one. Oh, I'm the khatib. I'm the smart one here. Everybody else is listening to me. And it boils all these ideas in your head. Imam Ahmad was praying with his son on the roof of the house, because that's where it's cold, the breeze is there. They were praying nightly prayer, tahajjud. And in the middle, his son looked and says, Dad, everybody's asleep, but we're praying. That's all he said. It's a fact. But Imam Ahmad knew that shaitan is going through that thought. And he said, if you slept and did not pray, would have been better than the sentence that you have just said. Because right now you're belittling everybody else and thinking of yourself as the good Muslim. What corrected that son's idea or sentence? It's that other Muslim who has the knowledge corrected him. And that's why in Islam you need to have the jama'ah, collectiveness. That collectiveness keeps you on the path. If you're blessed like me with glasses, and you lost that glasses one day and you walk in at night, you will deviate to one path or the other. But if you have somebody with you, you'll put it like, brother, we're on this straight path. Always have that guidance. Always have that jama'ah with you. Anybody goes astray from the jama'ah is going to the path either ضالين or مغضوب عليهم. Because you cannot be astray. You can be a jama'ah by yourself if everybody is leaving the right path. It's fine to be lonely if you're on the right path. But always have that suhbah. Because the idea of suhbah is one of the ideas that the Prophet ﷺ emphasized on. You always have to have that partner with you. And that partner is only thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not a business partner. He's not a husband or a wife. He's not. His duty is to keep you on the path. It could be a friend of yours or a business partner. But the sole purpose of keeping that person is for the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on us throughout time. And to give a few examples, Adam alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam, he's the first creation of Allah, and he's a prophet. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him that suhbah. He gave him Hawa alayhi salam. And that way, we kept the idea of collective guidance. When Adam alayhi salam was given the order not to eat from the tree, Hawa was given the same treatment, even though he was the prophet, not her. But the idea is, stay together. Open the door. No. And all these prophets that you get, especially the major ones, you see that the idea of suhbah is so important to them. Even if they're lonely. Ibrahim alayhi salam was fighting those people in Iraq for the Tawheed. And he's giving them all these clues and all these examples. And nobody's listening to him. But he understood there has to be somebody with me all the time. So he asked for suhbah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only is asking for a friend, he invents a new word, which is called Khalil. And Khalil, in Arabic, it means interlaced. So I am one with my friend. If my friend is hungry, I'm hungry too. It can never be that I'm in a different state than my friend. Because this is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he's in need, I will know he's in need before he tells me. And that's what Khalil means. And in the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we see him take a friend of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Not for any gains. There is no material gains between them. There is nothing in between them. But they're so interlaced that you feel they are one person. The example comes in when he said Rasulullah ﷺ was very thirsty. And I was thirsty too. Then we got some water. And Rasulullah ﷺ drank till I was full. I said that correctly. He says, Rasulullah ﷺ drank till I was full. When you listen to that sentence, there's something wrong. He drank, not the other guy. No. He was so happy with him drinking that he felt full. And Rasulullah ﷺ is the guided one. He doesn't need any help. He has Jibreel following him everywhere he goes. I mean, this is as strong as it gets. The strongest being there is. Described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when he goes to Hijrah, he asks for a friend to help him out. To give you an example, no matter how strong you are or what your resources, keep that friend. Keep that friend with you. Because you're helping him and he's helping you. Both at the same time. That's why the Prophet ﷺ always said, keep that friend. He says, I'll give you an example of the person you sit with, your friend. He could be a metal worker, or he could be a perfume salesman. If he is a metal worker, he's working with fire. He's hammering. The least you could have is that he can burn your clothes while you sit next to him, because sparks are flying everywhere. Or at least you'll smell a bad smell from the fire, from the fumes. But if you look at that other person, the perfume salesman, if you keep sitting next to him, he could sell you some perfume, or he could give you some and you put on, or at least when you're sitting next to him, the fumes, the beautiful fumes will surround you. So he's giving that example of your closest friend, that one that should guide you all the time. Is he a metal worker, a blacksmith, or is he a perfume bearer? You should have at least one in your life, that perfume bearer. Because even if you go anywhere else, people will smell it on you. Because that person is giving you that positive energy all that time. And that's what all the prophets were guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have. Make sure that the people surround you are pushing you to what you are reading 17 times a day. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Is that friend pushing me toward Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim? Or is he sending me to these two paths? Either I'm losing the way and I'm dal, or I'm maghdub alayhim because I'm not following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have done any work at the gym and you had any trainer at the gym, they'll tell you the best idea is to have a partner in the gym. Because one day you're going to get a little iffy, I don't feel like going today, it's too early, I'm praying Fajr, it's okay to sleep after that. When you have that gym partner and he pushes you, and you push him when he's low, this is exactly what exercises of Islam that we need. Rasulullah has always spoke about that. Friendship in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The idea of jama'ah. The idea of groupness. That's why loneliness is something forbidden in Islam. You cannot live by yourself in a house out of nowhere on a mountain or a Bedouin in the desert. It's forbidden. Why? Because all the ibadat in Islam are collective. To pray Eid twice a year, you have to be in a congregation. Ramadan and knowing the Hilal is a collective thing. Every week you got Jum'ah, you gotta pray. And for Imam Ahmad, he says, no, you all have to pray 5 times in the masjid if it surrounds you. There is no way, if you're our neighbor to the masjid, and you pray at home. Not possible. It's always about that collectiveness. It's all about إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed that if we to believe in Allah, we believe together. If we worship Allah, we worship together. If we seek guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we seek it together. And that's what Al-Fatiha keeps telling us and reminding us every time we read it 17 times a day. أسأل الله المغفرة أستغفر الله لي ولكم وجميع المسلمين. Please ask your God for forgiveness for you and every Muslim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. We spoke in the previous times that I was here that we read Surah Al-Kahf every Jumu'ah. And Rasulullah has promised us that who reads Surah Al-Kahf, it will give him light for his whole week plus 3 days. So it's 10 days. This surah reminds us every week of the idea of Jama'ah. So the first story that you get is those Muslims who could not tolerate the un-Islamic environment around them. Those young ones that went to the Al-Kahf, went to the cave. And they, as a collective, as a Jama'ah, as friends, went together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Left everything behind. The second one is the good friend telling his bad friend that he should be thankful to Allah about his farm and the things around it. And he was a very good friend giving him the advice. And the third one, which is Musa alayhi salam, even though he's a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him there is somebody you could benefit from even if you befriend him for a little bit of time. And in this surah, there's a lot of do's and don'ts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But one of the most important ones, because the people of Mecca used to come to him and say, we're the rich and controlling people. Leave those poor people and follow us, and we will take you wherever you want to be. You want to be a king, you want to be whatever you want, just leave those guys. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him the opposite. وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. Not only be with those people who believe in you who are poor, no, but be patient with them and go along with them as you go. Because that friend of yours, he might hurt you here, he might hurt you there. But you have to follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. Those people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and at night, be patient with them and continue with them. Because your guidance to them and their guidance to you. So this is a very important thing. That suhbah, that khalil, that intermingle, and it has to go on every level. I'm not only going to ask my brother if he's praying or not. No, I'm going to ask him of every aspect in his life. The Sahaba knew that very well. They would ask them even what they're wearing. This doesn't suit you, brother. You can wear something better. You have it. Show the bounty of Allah Ta'ala on you. Do this, do that. Give them advice in everything you want. Everything you see for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that Surah Al-Kahf gives us that reminder every week of that important thing of suhbah. Important thing of having that person and that connection. Even whatever happens in the world, you might work with that person and then the work stops. The suhbah doesn't stop. That thing goes behind you. Forget about it. The Sahaba used to marry between each other, divorce, that never stopped them from having their relation between them. They would work with each other and they would lose their partners, but that never changed in their suhbah. At any time. And the suhbah is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that guarantees you, in the hadith of Rasulullah, to have total shade at the Day of Judgment, where everybody is seeking that shade. And one of the 7 is people who have suhbah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just for the sake of Allah. Nothing else. So, from now on, this should be our homework. Increasing our suhbah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he left the earth, he had 120,000 Sahabi. And he never called them anything else. He called them Sahaba. a friend. He could call them anything else, mu'mineen, whatever it is. He called them sahaba. He had that suhbah into him. He had that friendship with him. So your goal is a minimum of 120,000. If you can do better, that would be better, inshallah. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واسرافنا في امرنا وثبت اقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين واهلك الظلمه يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر اخواننا في كل مكان. اللهم انصر اخواننا في كل مكان. اللهم انصر اخواننا في كل مكان. اللهم قوي شوكة المسلمين. اللهم ردنا الى دينك ردا جميلا. اللهم الحقنا بالصالحين. توفنا مسلمين. توفنا وانت راض عنا. اللهم انك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر لنا يا ربنا. اللهم اغفر لنا أجمعين يا ربنا، واغفر لآبائنا وأمهاتنا ومشايخنا وكل من له حق علينا يا رب العالمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أقم الصلاة.